Aaron had always been curious. He loved exploring places that others avoided, drawn by stories of the unknown. One day, while traveling through a distant land, he came across a tall, broken castle. Its walls were cracked, and vines climbed all over the towers. Birds had made nests in the windows, and the gates creaked in the wind. The villagers nearby looked at it with fear and suspicion. They said it was abandoned, haunted, and dangerous. But Aaron felt a strange pull toward it, as if it were calling him. He walked through the village, asking the locals about the castle. They shook their heads and warned him to stay away. "No one who enters ever returns the same," an old woman said softly. Aaron only smiled politely. The words made him more determined. There was a story behind this place, and he wanted to discover it. As he approached the castle, the sun was beginning to set. The sky turned golden and pink, and the shadows of the towers stretched across the ground. Aaron pushed open the heavy gates, which groaned loudly. Dust swirled in the air, and the smell of old stone filled his nose. He stepped carefully over broken tiles and fallen bricks, exploring the main hall. It was huge, bigger than any house he had ever seen. Sunlight streamed through holes in the ceiling, making bright patterns on the floor. The hall was empty, or so it seemed. Aaron noticed small signs of life, footprints in the dust that did not belong to him, the faint smell of flowers, and the distant sound of soft music. His heart beat faster. Who or what could be here? He moved deeper into the hall. His footsteps echoed, and sometimes he thought he saw a shadow move just at the edge of his vision. He stopped and held his breath. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, a soft breeze passed through, carrying a whisper of words he could not understand. Aaron felt both nervous and excited. He had never felt such a strange mix of fear and curiosity before. He found a large, broken window and looked outside. The land stretched for miles. Trees, rivers, and hills were bathed in the last light of the day. It was beautiful, but the castle felt lonely, like it had been waiting for someone for a long time. Aaron wondered why no one had stayed here for centuries. Who had lived here? And why had they left? Night began to fall, and Aaron decided to stay inside the castle for a while. He found a corner of the hall where the ceiling had not collapsed, and he made a small camp with the supplies he had brought. He lit a small lantern, which cast warm, soft light around him. The shadows danced on the walls, making the hall look alive. Suddenly, he felt a presence. Someone or something was in the hall with him. He turned slowly, trying not to panic. In the faint glow, he saw movement at the far end of the hall. A figure stood there, silent and still. Aaron could not see the face clearly, but the figure seemed calm, watching him without fear. His heart raced. "Who's there?" Aaron called softly. There was no answer, only a quiet rustle, like fabric brushing against stone. He took a step forward. The figure did not move, but the air around it seemed warm, almost comforting. Aaron felt an unexpected sense of peace despite the strangeness of the moment. Hours passed. Aaron tried to sleep, but he could not shake the feeling that he was being watched, not in a harmful way, but with curiosity. He wondered who or what had lived in this castle for so long. He could feel that this night was only the beginning of something unusual, something that might change his life. As he finally drifted into light sleep, he dreamed of voices singing softly, of lights moving across the walls, and of eyes that were kind yet full of mystery. The abandoned castle was no longer just a place of stone and dust. It felt alive, waiting for a story to unfold. Aaron woke before dawn. The first rays of the sun fell on the hall, and for a moment, he felt he was not alone. Someone or something was there, just beyond sight. He smiled to himself, feeling a mix of excitement and courage. This was the beginning of an adventure he had never expected, an adventure that would bring him closer to a mystery deeper than any he had known before. And so, in the great abandoned hall, Aaron took his first step toward discovering the castle's secret and the presence that had been waiting for him for so long. The morning sunlight spilled across the hall, turning the broken stones golden. Aaron woke with a feeling he could not explain. The castle seemed different now, less empty, as if the walls themselves were breathing quietly. He packed his small camp and began exploring again, determined to uncover more of the castle's secrets. As he moved deeper into the hall, he noticed something he had not seen before, a faint, shimmering light near the far end. It flickered gently, like a candle, yet it did not cast sharp shadows. Curiosity pushed him forward. He stepped carefully, listening to the echoes of his own footsteps. Suddenly, the air felt warmer. A soft, melodious voice spoke, clear and calm. "Who are you?" it asked. Aaron froze. The voice was neither harsh nor frightening, but it carried authority and grace. He looked around and saw her standing on a slightly raised platform in the hall, surrounded by light that seemed to come from her very being. She was unlike any human Aaron had ever seen. Her hair shimmered like silver in the sunlight, and her eyes held a deep, calm light that made him feel both nervous and safe at the same time. Her clothing seemed woven from soft, glowing threads that moved like water when she breathed. "I'm Aaron," he said, his voice quiet but steady. "I did not mean to intrude. I was curious about the castle." The woman's lips curved slightly into a gentle smile. "I know. Curiosity brings many here, but few remain long." She paused, studying him carefully. "I am Lyra. This place is my home, though it has been silent for many years. Humans do not usually come here." Aaron stepped closer, fascinated. "It is beautiful here," he said. "Even broken, it feels alive. But, why do you stay alone?" Lyra's eyes darkened slightly, as though remembering a distant memory. "I am bound to this castle," she said softly. "Long ago, my people lived here. I remained when all others left. It is not loneliness I feel, it is duty. Yet, for centuries, I have not spoken to anyone outside this castle." Aaron nodded slowly, understanding that she was not just shy or mysterious, she carried the weight of centuries of solitude. I do not mean to disturb you. I only want to understand." "Maybe I can help," he offered. For a long moment, Lyra studied him in silence. Then she spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. "Humans often bring change, sometimes without realizing it. You may stay for now, but you must understand this castle is not just walls and stones. It holds memories, and I must protect them." Aaron smiled. "I promise to respect it. I only wish to learn, to see the beauty that has been forgotten." Lyra's eyes softened. For the first time in centuries, she felt a spark of warmth she had not known was possible. Over the next few hours, Lyra guided Aaron through the castle. She showed him the tall, crumbling towers and the great library, where books lay covered in dust. She explained the history of her people in simple words, though much of it seemed ancient and magical. Aaron listened in awe, fascinated by every story she told. Despite the strangeness of the situation, Aaron felt a bond growing between them. Lyra had lived alone for so long, and yet her smile, her voice, and the way she moved through the hall made him feel welcomed, almost at home. And Lyra, who had forgotten the joy of company, found herself enjoying his presence. By evening, the sunlight had faded, and the hall grew quiet. Aaron prepared a small fire in a safe corner, and they sat across from each other. Neither spoke for a long time, yet the silence was not empty. It was filled with a sense of connection neither had expected. Finally, Lyra spoke, her voice almost a whisper. "You are different, Aaron. Most humans would not stay here. Most would leave when the shadows whispered." Aaron looked at her, a small smile forming. "I am not most humans," he said softly. "I want to understand, and I want to be here with you, if you will allow it." Lyra's gaze lingered on him, and she nodded slowly. "Then you may stay for now. But remember, this castle is older than any human heart. Be careful what you wish for." As night fell, the great hall glowed with the soft light of the fire and Lyra's shimmering presence. Aaron felt that the castle was no longer just stones and dust, it had a soul, and that soul had chosen to let him in. And so, the first day of their acquaintance ended, not with fear, but with a quiet hope. Aaron had found a companion in a place long forgotten, and Lyra had found the first sign of trust in centuries. In the abandoned castle hall, a story was beginning, a story of curiosity, of connection, and of a mysterious bond that would grow stronger with each passing day. Days passed in the abandoned castle, and Aaron found himself returning each morning, eager to explore more of its hidden corners. Lyra appeared every day, her presence calm and gentle, guiding him through corridors filled with dust and sunlight. The castle, once silent and empty, began to feel alive with their shared steps and soft laughter. Aaron learned how to move carefully through broken floors and crumbling staircases. Lyra showed him secret gardens behind overgrown walls, where wildflowers grew despite the years of neglect. "Even in forgotten places," she said, "life finds a way." Aaron smiled at her words, feeling that they applied not just to the castle but to her as well. Each evening, after exploring, they would return to the great hall. Aaron brought small gifts he found on his travels, a rare flower, a smooth stone, or a bright feather. Lyra, in return, created tiny lights that danced across the walls, like fireflies captured in magic. The hall glowed softly, no longer a cold, abandoned space but a place of warmth and quiet beauty. One evening, Aaron asked, "Lyra, did you always live here alone?" She paused, looking at the flickering lights she had made. "Yes, mostly. My people were different from humans. They traveled far, and eventually, the castle was empty. I stayed to honor them, to protect their stories. But centuries of silence, it can be heavy, even for someone like me." Aaron listened carefully. "I can't imagine being alone for so long. It must have been lonely." Lyra shook her head slightly. "Loneliness is not always sadness. It can also be reflection, learning, waiting. But it has been many years since someone human has stayed. You are unusual, Aaron." The two shared a quiet smile, understanding forming between them. There was no rush, no pressure, just the gentle bond of shared time. Aaron felt a deep respect for Lyra, for her patience and strength. And Lyra, who had once believed companionship was impossible, felt a warmth she had not known she had missed. As days turned into weeks, their evenings became a rhythm of stories and laughter. Aaron told Lyra about his travels, the villages he had seen, the festivals, and the songs people sang. Lyra listened with fascination, asking questions and marveling at the small wonders of the human world. In return, Lyra told Aaron about the history of her people, their traditions, their celebrations, and the way they lived in harmony with the castle and the surrounding lands. Though the stories were often old and magical, Aaron found himself imagining them vividly, feeling as though he could step into a time long past. One evening, after a long day of exploring, Aaron noticed Lyra gazing at a cracked mural on the wall. "What is it?" he asked. "It is a story of my people," she said softly. "It tells of a promise made long ago, to protect the land and those who lived here. Even now, I feel their presence in every stone and every shadow." Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of history and the connection between Lyra and the castle. "It is beautiful," he said. "And I am glad I can be here to see it with you." Lyra's eyes softened. "I am glad too. Most humans would not understand, but you listen, and you care. That is rare." The hall, once cold and empty, now felt like a home. Candles Aaron lit mixed with the magical lights Lyra created, painting golden patterns on the cracked floors and broken walls. Shadows flickered gently, moving in rhythm with their quiet conversation. For the first time in centuries, Lyra felt that the castle's silence was no longer a burden. It was filled with life, laughter, and the start of friendship, perhaps even something deeper. As night fell, Aaron prepared a small dinner near the fire. They ate quietly, sharing stories between bites, comfortable in the presence of one another. Aaron realized he did not want to leave this place, not because of the castle alone, but because of Lyra. And Lyra, though hesitant to admit it even to herself, felt the same pull towards someone who was not only human but kind, patient, and endlessly curious. That night, as Aaron lay on the soft blankets he had brought, he listened to the soft sounds of the castle, the wind through broken windows, the distant rustle of the garden leaves, and the faint shimmer of Lyra's lights fading into the shadows. He smiled, knowing that he had found something rare, not just a friend, but a companion, a presence that made the abandoned castle hall feel alive. And Lyra, standing quietly at the edge of the hall, watched him sleep. A small smile touched her lips. For the first time in centuries, she felt the gentle stirring of something she had thought lost forever, hope. The castle hall had changed since Aaron arrived. No longer did it feel abandoned or silent. Candles flickered in the corners, mingling with the soft, magical lights that Lyra created. The air carried a warmth that had been missing for centuries. And with each passing day, the bond between Aaron and Lyra grew, quiet but undeniable. Aaron began to repair small parts of the hall. He swept the floors, cleared broken furniture, and even fixed a few cracks in the walls with stones he gathered outside. Lyra watched him quietly, sometimes offering gentle advice. "Be careful," she said one day as he leaned over a crumbling balcony. "Even small mistakes can cause harm." "I know," Aaron replied with a grin. "But this castle deserves care. And I want it to feel alive again." Lyra's eyes softened, and she nodded. "Then it is good that you are here." She began to show subtle signs of affection. When Aaron returned from gathering materials, he would often find soft lights hovering around his favorite spots. Sometimes they shaped themselves like small flowers, sometimes like tiny stars. He realized she was creating these just for him, a quiet way of saying she enjoyed his presence. One evening, Aaron placed a small bouquet of wildflowers on a table in the hall. Lyra noticed immediately. She bent down, lightly touching the petals with her fingers. "They are beautiful," she said softly. "You thought of this for me?" Aaron shrugged, a little embarrassed. I just wanted to bring a little color back to the hall. Her eyes lingered on him, and for the first time, Aaron felt a spark of something more than friendship. He looked away quickly, unsure if he should feel this way. But the warmth in the hall, and in Lyra's gaze, made him want to stay closer than ever. Over the next days, their evenings became a mixture of laughter, conversation, and quiet companionship. Aaron told stories of human festivals, of songs that made people dance under the stars, and Lyra would smile, sometimes joining in with soft humming that filled the hall. She had lived in silence for so long that even the smallest human joy seemed magical to her. One rainy afternoon, the wind blew fiercely through the castle walls, and Aaron struggled to keep a lantern lit. Lyra appeared beside him, her glowing presence steady and calm. She reached out, her fingers brushing his briefly as she steadied the light. The touch was gentle, but it sent a warmth through both of them that neither could ignore. After the storm passed, Aaron realized that he looked forward to every small moment with Lyra, the shared laughter, the quiet conversations, even the simple gestures like passing a lantern or placing a flower. And Lyra, who had thought centuries of solitude would leave her cold and indifferent, felt her heart lighten each time he smiled. One evening, they sat near the fireplace. The shadows danced along the walls, and the magical lights floated gently around them. Aaron noticed that Lyra seemed more relaxed than ever. Her usual calmness had softened into something warmer, something that made him feel at home. "Lyra," he said quietly, I don't know how to explain this, but I like being here. With you. More than anywhere else." Lyra looked at him, a faint blush coloring her cheeks, a rare expression for her kind. She did not speak at first, just let her gaze linger on his. Finally, she said, "I feel the same, Aaron. You have brought life back to this hall, and to me." Neither moved closer that night, but the words hung in the air, filling the space between them. The castle, once cold and forgotten, now held a gentle warmth, the beginnings of a deeper connection, a subtle desire neither fully admitted but both felt. Days continued in this way. Aaron and Lyra shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments of understanding. They learned to read each other's small gestures, a smile, a glance, a soft touch of a hand. Each moment built trust, each moment deepened the unspoken bond growing between them. The abandoned castle hall, once empty and forgotten, had begun to pulse with life and emotion. And at the center of it all, Aaron and Lyra felt the first signs of something neither had expected, the quiet, gentle stirrings of affection that could grow into love, if they allowed it. As night fell, the hall glowed softly with light and warmth. Aaron lay on his blanket, thinking about Lyra's smile, and Lyra floated at the edge of the hall, thinking about his laughter. Neither could deny the feeling in their hearts they were no longer alone, and something extraordinary was beginning between them. The days in the castle had grown peaceful, filled with shared laughter and quiet companionship. Aaron and Lyra's bond had deepened, but the outside world began to press on Aaron's mind. The villagers had noticed his absence and whispered questions followed him wherever he went for supplies. Some warned him, others were curious, but all expressed concern. One afternoon, Aaron returned to the castle to find Lyra waiting for him near the main hall. Her silver hair shimmered in the sunlight, but her face was serious. "Aaron," she said gently, "I feel something troubling you. You do not speak as freely as before." Aaron sighed and sat on the stone steps. "It is the villagers. They worry about me, and I wonder if I am doing the right thing by staying here. They think I am lost, or worse. And yet, I do not want to leave this place. Not because of the castle alone, but because of you. Lyra's eyes softened, but a shadow of worry passed over them. I understand. I do not want to hold you from your people. But your heart seems torn. She stepped closer. You must decide, Aaron. This castle can give you peace, but the world outside also calls. Aaron looked at her, struggling with the weight of the choice. He wanted to remain in this magical place, with Lyra by his side. Yet he felt the pull of the world he had always known, the human villages, friends he might never see again, the life he had left behind. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the castle towers, Aaron wandered into the courtyard. The wind rustled through the overgrown vines, carrying the scent of wild flowers. He sat on a broken bench and watched the light fade. How can I choose? He whispered. If I leave, I might lose what I feel here. But if I stay, what will become of me in the world outside? Lyra appeared beside him silently, her presence comforting. She did not speak at first, letting him think. Then she said softly, Aaron, the heart knows its own path, even when the mind is confused. Listen to what it tells you. Aaron looked at her, the golden light reflecting in her eyes. In that moment, he realized that he did not want to leave, not the castle, and certainly not Lyra. The feelings he had tried to ignore were too strong, too real. She had brought life back to the hall and warmth to his heart. He could not walk away now. That night, they sat together in the great hall. Candles flickered, and the magical lights Lyra created floated softly around them. The hall seemed to breathe with them, alive with their shared presence. Aaron reached out, placing his hand near hers. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then allowed their fingers to touch lightly. I do not want to leave, Aaron whispered. Not here. Not with you. Lyra looked down at their hands, her eyes shining. And I do not want you to leave, Aaron. You have chosen to be here, and that choice makes all the difference. For a long while, they sat in silence, letting their connection speak for them. Neither needed words to understand the depth of their bond. The castle, once silent and cold, now held the warmth of their commitment. Yet, even in this peaceful moment, the question of the world outside lingered. Aaron knew he would need to face the villagers eventually, explain his absence, and find a way to live in both worlds, human and magical, present and past. Lyra, too, understood that their bond was rare, and that challenges might arise, testing their hearts. But in that quiet hall, for that evening, neither thought of doubt. They only thought of the gentle closeness they shared, the laughter that had returned to the castle, and the comfort of knowing that, despite the uncertainty, they had chosen each other. As night fell, Aaron lay on his blanket, Lyra floating nearby, the soft lights around them shimmering like stars. He realized that life was a series of choices, and sometimes the bravest choice was the one of the heart. And he had made that choice. For the first time, the abandoned castle hall felt not like a place of solitude, but like a home for two hearts that had found each other against time and circumstance. And though the challenges of the world outside awaited, Aaron and Lyra knew that together, they could face whatever came next. The sky above the castle had darkened by late afternoon, heavy clouds rolling over the distant hills. Aaron was repairing a broken window when the first drops of rain began to fall. The wind rose sharply, rattling the old shutters and sending loose stones tumbling in the courtyard. He paused, looking up at the towering walls, feeling the storm approach. Aaron, Lyra's voice called softly, yet carried a sense of urgency. She appeared beside him, her silver hair moving like liquid in the gusts of wind. "The storm will be strong. You should come inside." Aaron nodded, stepping carefully through the hall as the rain began to pound against the roof. Inside, the great hall echoed with the sound of the storm, and the windows shook with each gust. Lyra's lights flickered around him, offering a calm glow amid the chaos outside. "Do storms often frighten you?" Aaron asked, trying to lighten the tense moment. Lyra shook her head. "No. Storms are part of nature. But even I must respect their strength." Her eyes softened as she looked at him. "You stayed here despite the warnings. That shows courage, and care." Aaron smiled, though the wind howled through the cracks. "I couldn't leave. Not with you here." The storm raged on for hours. Aaron moved to the hearth, lighting a small fire, while Lyra hovered near, her soft lights dancing along the walls. They sat close, letting the warmth of the fire mix with the quiet glow of her presence. Outside, the storm tried to claim the castle, but inside, it felt safe. In the quiet moments between the thunder, Aaron reached out, taking Lyra's hand gently. She did not pull away, though her eyes widened slightly. The connection between them had grown strong over weeks of shared evenings, and now it seemed impossible to ignore. "Lyra," Aaron whispered, "I've never felt this way before, about anyone. I care for you, deeply." Her eyes shimmered with unspoken emotion. For a long moment, she remained silent, as though listening to her own heart. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but full of warmth. "And I care for you, Aaron. More than I have thought possible. Your presence has brought life and hope back to this hall, back to me." A quiet joy filled the space between them. The storm outside raged, but inside, their hearts were calm and certain. Words were no longer needed. Their feelings, long growing in silence, had finally been spoken. "I promise," Aaron said, squeezing her hand gently, "that I will stay here, with you, for as long as you wish. I will protect this castle, and I will protect you." Lyra's glow intensified slightly, as if reflecting the warmth of her emotions. "And I promise," she whispered, "to trust you, to share this place and my life with you. We will face whatever comes together." The two sat quietly, letting the words settle in their hearts. The storm outside seemed smaller now, less threatening, as though it respected the bond forming within the castle walls. For the first time in centuries, Lyra felt a true sense of freedom, not freedom from duty, but freedom to be herself, to share her life with someone she trusted completely. As night fell, the rain softened into a steady patter, and the clouds slowly parted to reveal the first stars. Aaron and Lyra moved to the great hall's center, where the firelight mingled with her magical glow, casting dancing patterns on the walls. They looked at each other, smiles quiet but full of meaning. "Do you think we can truly be together?" Aaron asked softly, still holding her hand. Lyra nodded, her eyes bright. "Yes. It will not always be easy, but our hearts have chosen. That is stronger than any storm." They stayed close for the rest of the night, speaking in soft voices, sharing hopes, and imagining the future. The castle, once abandoned and silent, had transformed. Its stones held warmth, its shadows carried light, and its halls echoed with laughter and gentle love. By dawn, the storm had passed. Rain trickled from the towers, and sunlight peeked through the broken windows. Aaron looked at Lyra and smiled. "We made it through the storm," he said quietly. Lyra returned his smile, her glow mingling with the morning light. "Yes. And from now on, We face every storm together. In the abandoned castle hall, a silent promise had been made. Two hearts had chosen each other, and the place that had once known only solitude now held the promise of love, trust, and a shared future. The morning sunlight streamed through the broken windows, filling the great hall with a warm, golden glow. Aaron and Lyra stood together, looking at the castle that had once been abandoned and silent. Now, it was alive. Not just with their presence, but with hope, laughter, and the promise of a shared future. "Where should we start?" Aaron asked, smiling as he ran his hand along the worn stone walls. Lyra floated beside him, her soft glow illuminating the cracks and shadows. "Every part of this castle holds memories," she said. "We can rebuild, but we must also honor what was here before." They began with small repairs. Aaron cleared rubble from the main hall and repaired broken furniture, while Lyra used her magic to strengthen walls and illuminate spaces that had long been dark. The castle slowly transformed. Dust vanished, cracks became filled, and the air grew warmer, carrying the faint scent of flowers and sunlight. During their work, they talked, laughed, and shared stories of what life could be like. Aaron imagined bringing small plants into the hall, creating gardens in the open courtyards. Lyra suggested decorating with lights that reflected the stars outside, so the night would feel as alive as the day. Together, they dreamed and worked, turning the castle into a home filled with life. Days passed, and the villagers began to notice the changes. At first, they were hesitant, but curiosity overcame their fear. One by one, they came to see the castle glowing with light, hear laughter echoing through the halls, and smell the flowers that now grew in once forgotten gardens. "Who are these people?" a villager whispered to another, watching Aaron and Lyra from a distance. "They live there," the other replied. "But, they make the place beautiful. The castle is no longer lonely." Aaron welcomed the visitors with kind words and gentle smiles. Lyra, though shy at first, found joy in their curiosity and interest. Together, they showed that humans and magical beings could share a space in harmony, that friendship and respect could bring forgotten places back to life. One evening, after a long day of work, Aaron and Lyra sat in the great hall. Candles flickered alongside Lyra's magical lights, casting shimmering patterns on the polished floors. The hall, once abandoned, was now a place of comfort and beauty. "I never imagined it could feel like this," Aaron said softly, looking around. "Warm, alive, like a home." Lyra smiled, floating closer to him. "And it is because of us. Because we chose to care, to stay, and to be together." Aaron reached for her hand. "I cannot imagine a day without you, Lyra. You've made this place, and my heart, brighter than I ever thought possible." Her glow brightened slightly, reflecting the joy in her eyes. "And you, Aaron, have shown me something I had forgotten: the happiness of sharing life with someone else. We are no longer alone." The castle, now restored piece by piece, became a symbol of their love and dedication. Every corner held a memory of laughter, gentle conversation, and quiet moments shared between them. The walls, once cold and empty, carried warmth and light, a reflection of their hearts. Over time, the villagers began to visit more often, no longer fearful but curious and respectful. They watched Aaron and Lyra working together, and they learned that even abandoned places could become homes again with care, trust, and companionship. As the sun set one evening, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Aaron and Lyra stood together in the main hall. The candles and magical lights glowed softly around them, and the hall was alive with energy and warmth. "We have come far," Aaron said quietly, squeezing her hand. "Yes," Lyra replied, her eyes shining. And the journey continues. Together. They walked through the hall, side by side, imagining all the memories yet to be made. The castle, once abandoned and lonely, was now full of life, love, and promise. Their hearts were intertwined, and the place that had seemed so desolate had become a home not just for them, but for the hope they brought to everyone around. And so, in the great hall of the abandoned castle, Aaron and Lyra began their new life. Together, they had turned silence into laughter, loneliness into companionship, and an abandoned place into a home. Their story, born of curiosity, courage, and affection, had found its happy ending not as an end at all, but as a beginning for everything they would share from that day forward.